this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis-Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year. You can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Time for a sofa upgrade? Introducing Anabay Sofas, where designer style meets budget-friendly prices. Anabay brings you the ultimate in furniture innovation with a modular design that allows you to rearrange your space effortlessly. Perfect for both small and large spaces, Anabay is the only machine-washable sofa inside and out. Say goodbye to stains and messes with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics that make cleaning easy. Liquids simply slide right off. Designed for custom comfort, our high-resilience foam lets you choose between a sink-in feel or a supportive memory foam blend. Plus, our pet-friendly, stain-resistant fabrics ensure your sofa stays beautiful for years. Don't compromise quality for price. Visit washablesofas.com to upgrade your living space today. Sofas start at just $699 with no risk returns and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Get up to 60% off, plus free shipping and free returns. Shop now at washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Cool Zone Media.
Wow. Welcome back to Behind the Bastards, a podcast where I, Robert Evans, was just bearing my soul to my guest, the cartoonist Randy Milholland, about the fact that I miss drawing cartoons. I just brought up the great Aesop Rock song, Rings, which is about, like, realizing that drawing is a thing you used to do and being kind of quietly devastated by that.
I think you were going to call me a grifter at first. I was like, I guess. I'm a cartoonist, so, a little bit.
It's the thing. Like, I always knew I wanted to write, and I had initially wanted to do that as, like, a cartoonist. Because I was kind of, like, coming into my adolescence, the same age that, like, Hank was when he's watching these early Disney cartoons. I was reading, like, first-generation webcomics, right? Like, Sluggy Freelance and shit like that. That, like, the first people who were able to, like, make a living cartooning on the internet. And I was always like, well, that seems like the way to do it. What a lush, lavish life these webcomic artists live. Oh, one day that'll be me.
I did have someone once like send me an angry email. Like, I know you are so comfortable in your mansion. I was living in
your
a
ivory
one-room
tower of cartoons.
I was living in a one-room apartment at the time. I was like, I guess, cool.
Yeah, there's this Nazi cartoon, and it's problematic, and it's I'll give you one guess as to like who the they is, but like the text underneath this very problematic art is like, if you want to know who rules you, look at who you're not allowed to criticize. And I want to replace the racial caricatures with just like a guy drawing a cartoon, like the secret masters of the world, webcomic artists. They rule us all.
Gabe and Tycho. Cyanide and Happiness.
Yeah, the Penny Arcade guys.
Jerry's a sweet guy, though. I will say that. He's always been very sweet.
Yeah. I have not met any of them. I did see Will Wheaton once at Penny Arcade Expo, and I nearly took my vengeance on him for what he did to that poor space captain in that 4th season episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Unforgivable. Unforgivable, Will.
First time I ever met Will Wheaton, I told him, like, because he and I were the same age. was like, when we were kids, I was always so jealous of you because you were on the Starship Enterprise. And he's like, look, however cool you think it was way cooler. And he walked off. I was like, damn it, dude.
Yeah, man, he got to know Riker. He got to watch that man reinvent sitting down on chairs. Never been done the same since.
It really hasn't. That was the, I think that's really what taught us bisexuals.
That was the Manhattan Project for sitting down. So we're back in the story of Hank Ketchum. When we last left off, his wife Alice had left him. He blames this on her temperamental Irish nature, which he also blames her alcoholism on. And this is not fair, but she is an alcoholic, right? Now, I don't think she's an alcoholic because she's Irish. I think she's an alcoholic because it was the 50s, and who wasn't, right? Like, a health nut ended every day with a full pint glass of straight bourbon. Like that was the way people lived. Like,
martinis and barbiturate-fueled diet pills were a way of life.
You have called where this is going, because she is unfortunately mixing barbiturates and alcohol, which listeners don't do. This has been a long digression from the fact that Hank Ketchum is going to blame every problem that his wife has on the fact that she's Irish. Now, look, she is an alcoholic. I am sure that was a contributing factor to why their marriage didn't work. But I also suspect a contributing factor to her alcoholism was the fact that her husband did not want her or their child around and preferred spending time with a fake family that he had drawn to spending time with his actual family. I can see how that might make a problem worse, right?
Yeah.
I'm not inside this marriage. It couldn't have helped, right?
Not really.
Now, there are some other possible clues as to what went wrong in this marriage from some of Hank's early cartoons. From that Seattle Times article, quote, Dennis persistently tries to drive a wedge between Henry and Alice by exposing their flirtations. He narks out Dad on the beach to a furious Alice. Boy, did we meet a pretty girl. Her name was Sally Holt. I forget her phone number. Likewise, he deals poor Henry another blow to his masculinity in front of Henry's male friend. If you're so handy, how come Mom had the man next door come fix the leg on the card table?
God damn.
And we get a couple things from this here. For one thing, he is kind of hinting at this like constant suspicion of infidelity that may have been a factor in their relationship. But also, to make this more devastating, again, Dennis is a kid and aware of the cartoon that's coming out. His parents break up, and his dad starts drawing cartoons about he and his wife fighting, where the cause of the fighting is Dennis. Now, that could fuck with your head a little as a kid, right?
That's so fucked up.
That could do some, when we talk about the ethics of like basing stuff on your life, that's generally okay. But maybe if you're a parent, don't blame the cartoon version of your son for the problems of your marriage. That might hurt them, actually. That could do some real damage.
Everyone gets the newspaper.
Yes.
Every kid reads the comics.
Yeah.
And there's no way his friends didn't know his dad drew this comic.
No. This is like, honestly, there's really not much like Mr. Beast is probably like, in terms of like his level of popularity, the closest we have to somebody like Hank Ketchum in terms of the actual penetration of a single piece of children's media in the time, right? Like, it's so popular. And yeah, this would be like a pretty fucked up thing to deal with as a kid, in addition to like dealing with the fact that your parents are splitting up. And things are about to get a lot worse because Alice leaving brings an immediate threat to Hank Ketchum's life, which is that since they're split up now, he's going to wind up with partial custody, at least, of his son. And partial custody means you might have to spend time parenting that kid. And that is not a thing Hank wants to do, right?
No father in the 50s is into that idea.
Absolutely not. So as soon as the two split up, like that same year, Hank sends 12-year-old Dennis to live at a private boarding school. And here's how Hank describes the reasoning behind this decision. He suffered severe learning disabilities that were not being properly addressed by the family. His mother, too caught up in luncheons, teas, and bouts with demon rum, couldn't focus seriously on much of anything. His well-intentioned father was buried in creative work and wasn't spending time with his small family. And like, it's kind of like you try to give yourself a little like, well, I also didn't do enough. But like, his mom is all going out to lunch all the time. And his dad is well-intentioned, but he's like too busy drawing cartoons to raise his child. And what's most messed up here, I have never seen any real supposition as to what Dennis's learning disabilities may have been. He's not diagnosed with anything, as far as I can tell. Given the state of things in that period of time, I think there's a very good chance he didn't have a learning disability. He was like acting out and having trouble in school because his home life was really difficult. And when things got tough, his dad sends him away. right? Like, that makes more sense to me than any kind of disability he might have had.
He was an upset child.
He was an upset child.
And divorce was so taboo in the 50s, and there's no way like other kids didn't know. I'm sure his life was kind of hellish.
He's dealing with that, right? Like the fact that this is a taboo thing, it's so unprecedented seeming to him. And also, again, his mom is an alcoholic, and that's also a thing to across to bear as a child, right?
He is the victim in the situation.
Absolutely. And we have the actual Dennis's recollections of this period of his childhood. And he would later tell People magazine, I didn't know what was going on, except that I felt Dad wanted me out of the way, which is like a devastating way to feel as a child.
No child should ever feel that way.
Especially if you are your dad's meal ticket. He's getting rich off of a pretend version of you, and he won't even raise you. Like, that's real bad. So this childhood nightmare is exacerbated by the fact that Dennis the Menace, the cartoon, is hugely popular among kids of his age group. And whenever they found out that he was the original Dennis, he became the source of unwanted attention. Years later, Hank would cop to some of this and the effect that it had on his son, telling the Washington Post, these things happen, which they don't. They never happen to another kid, Hank. No one else has ever gone through what your son did.
Well, let's look at Bill Keane and his kids, who he based the Family Circus off of.
Yeah.
Glenn and Gil Keane became cartoonists. Mm-hmm. Like, he was very proud of them. They apparently had a really good life. So there's an option here.
Yes. You can base things on your life. Maybe not this way.
No.
Yeah. And even honestly, if he'd done everything the same with the comic, but just kept his son and raised him, it probably would have been fine. Mm-hmm. But that's not what he's going to do. Hank would add, this was even worse because his name was used. He was brought in unwillingly and unknowingly, and it confused him. And like, yeah, Hank, but I think what confused him more was you just not being there because you're his dad. So Alice, again, I hinted at this earlier, this is the 50s. She is an alcoholic, and like every person who drinks too much in the 50s, she's also taking too many barbiturates, right? This is a great way to get really fucked up, and it's a great way to die suddenly, which unfortunately she does a few months after he starts boarding school. The same year his parents break up, the same year he's sent away to boarding school, his mom dies driving past Mount Shasta from an interaction of alcohol and barbiturates. This is unfathomably devastating for any child, right? In the best case scenario, your mom dying suddenly is like the worst moment of your childhood, obviously, right? Like, you know, like it's horrible. Let alone like the fact that he is dealing with this and the breakup of his parents and the fact that he has been sent to live alone at like a boarding school, right? And that his dad blames it on the fact that he has a bad brain, right? I'm not saying that's what a learning disability is, but that's very much how people talk about this.
I'm sure that in private, that was not how his father termed it.
Yeah.
Not in the 50s.
Not in the 50s. He's not being woke about this, right? And Hank is, he's not an expert on tact and child rearing. So when, again, there's no internet, right? There's phone service and stuff, but like as a kid, you're not connected to the world. Dennis is locked away at this school. His mom dies, and his dad decides not to tell him.
He
doesn't let him know. And Hank, in his autobiography, is like, I just couldn't bring myself to break the news over the phone, right? Which, like, well, you're rich. Travel there. Go tell, I get that. Like, yeah, maybe you want to tell him in person, go be with your boy. But he doesn't want to do that either. So instead of like going to see his son and telling him or calling him and telling him, he waits until the boy's mother is buried and then lets him know, hey, by the way, your mom's dead. Sorry, brah.
What a piece of shit.
Like,
what a piece of shit.
That's such a devastating, traumatizing way to handle that. Like, not only are you alone, not only is your mom dead and we're split up, but like, I'm not even going to tell you until she's buried. My God.
That is so cruel. That's child abuse.
That is very abusive.
Yeah.
Man, that's like we just talked about Steve Jobs being a bad dad. I don't think he would have done this. Like, he would have let the kid know that mom was dead.
Steve Jobs was a shit dad, but like, come on.
Jesus. And like the fact that he's not able to go to the funeral, Dennis would later say, fucks him up, right? Quote, mom had always been there when I needed her. I would have dealt with losing her a lot better had I been able to attend her funeral. Obviously. Even in the 50s, most parents don't need that explained to them. Of course the kid should be at the funeral. They should have the option at least.
Oh my God. Like, I can't even imagine how, like, when you're that age, like 12, like for a normal 12 or 13-year-old, life is hard. Your body's changing. Nothing makes sense. Kids are mean as shit. You don't understand your parents, but your parents are getting divorced when that's unusual. You're sent across the country to a boarding school. You know your mom's an alcoholic and probably doing worse, and it's not going great. And then one day, like, oh, by the way, your mom is in the ground.
Yeah.
You didn't get to say goodbye.
Look, kid, I got good news and bad news. Bad news, mom's dead. Good news, you don't got to go shopping for a suit. Funeral's already done. I took care of that for you, buddy. Have a good time being abandoned.
No more awkward holidays.
Yeah. No
Good
more
news,
holidays
your
at
mom
all. You
stopped
live
drinking.
at the school now. Yeah, your mom's sober.
God damn it.
God, only marginally worse than what he actually did. So for his part, Hank is savvy enough in his autobiography to know that describing the story the way it actually happened would sound bad. So he explains her death in his autobiography in this rather baffling passage. The little girl from Malden, that's his wife, tried valiantly to cope. She was a splendid wife and a loving mother, but the world was spinning too quickly for her. She had nothing to hold her steady except the relief she found in barbiturates and alcohol. My patience and knowledge of the disease were woefully lacking, and tragically, she succumbed shortly after her 40th birthday.
Cool, that poetry doesn't really help.
No, first off, he's nice in this paragraph to her. She was a great wife and mother. But, like, it comes one paragraph after he says she wasn't there for her son because of the demon rum and all of those luncheons. So I don't really believe that he felt this way about her. And then the instant, like the next thing that happens in this book after he says that she dies tragically is not him talking about the conversations he has with his son, you know, his attempts to cope with grief himself, his attempts to help his son deal with this. It is a subchapter called Blind Rebound. Again, and this is literally about a rebound relationship he has. He goes from my wife died and not to here's what happened to my son. Here's how I talked to him. Anything. He doesn't say anything about his kid at all, about the kid they share. That is the inspiration for the comic. That is why he has an autobiography. He goes to talking about a lady he wanted to fuck. This story starts at Disneyland, where he's at Disneyland and he sees a young man who's alone, and it makes him sad and it reminds him that it's nice to be with somebody. Right? It was a sad sight and it reminded me how much I depend on being with someone. This must be a reaction to all the crummy rooming houses and lonely weekends and holidays I spent feeling sorry for myself. No question about it, I'd make a lousy monk.
I would like to dig him up.
He's so
and
bad.
Just punch him. What the fuck?
It's such an evil Moon Man way of talking about like your wife dying and abandoning your son. It's like, yeah, you know, I completely gave up on my responsibilities as a father. But then at Disney World, I realized having sex is nice.
There is no empathy in this man.
It's like, such a vile person.
This is Scott Adams' level of like, I don't see beyond my own dick.
Yeah. Yeah, at least, you know, I don't know if this is true, but, well, no, Scott, I'm not going to say at least with Scott Adams. I will say nothing for you, Scott.
Good.
So look, I want to be clear here. I don't think he had a responsibility to stay in that marriage. I don't think anybody has a responsibility to stay in an unhappy marriage, whether or not they have a kid. But I do think that if the mother of your child dies, your job at that point, even if you're split up, is to focus more on that kid, right? Because they've lost their mother, and that's what parents should do. Your job is not to abandon them so you can go get laid at Disney World. Like, that is not the acceptable thing to do.
Going to Disneyland to get some strange is kind of weird.
Bizarre.
Robert, I really am going to revisit my take on titling for this thing. You can do the history's greatest monster.
The history's greatest monster for the Dennis the Menace guy?
Yeah, you can do that. I'm okay with it. This guy sucks.
You know who else, Sophie,
sucks.
is history's greatest monster?
Oh, is it capitalism?
Our sponsors.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah, because they made you listen to this.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
Let's talk about modern home shopping. It's sort of become a fun side hobby, right? Scrolling listings at night, dreaming about kitchens you've never seen, or backyards you haven't even stepped foot in, all from the comfort of pretty much anywhere. Redfin knows a lot of people like you want to own, but are stuck in this browsing mode loop. That's where Redfin flips the script. With listings that update within minutes and tours you can book right from the Redfin app, you can see your dream home the moment it appears. Now, liking a listing is easy, but actually landing it, that's where Redfin comes in. Redfin has over 2,200 agents with local expertise. And Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. That means they want to help you win, not just window shop. Redfin is built to help you go from just looking to wait, this could actually be home. So become the newest neighbor on the block. Visit redfin.com to start finding and start owning. That's redfin.com.
Everybody, we're back and we're just having a great time.
Those are good ads and services. I feel contented.
Dennis is enduring one of the most traumatic childhood experiences I can conceive of. And while he's doing this alone at a boarding school, his dad agrees to go on a blind date with a stewardess named Joanne Stevens. Now, Hank is clear that all he knows when he books this date is that she's a stewardess, and he informs us that people in his day called stewardesses stews. I've actually read a lot about air travel in this period of time. I've never heard this before. I'm not going to say he's wrong, but that's a stupid thing to call a stewardess.
That sounds like something he called them, and he wants it to sound like.
Yeah.
Did you say stews?
Stews.
Yeah.
What a weird thing to call a stewardess. You see those stews on the flight? Hey, Stu, bring me some stew. What a weird time that was.
I hate everything about that.
I'm going to try that next time I'm on a plane. I'm going to call the stewardess or steward a stew.
I feel
See
like
how they feel. Hey, Stu, bring me some drinks.
I feel like they should immediately go on strike the first time stew is announced.
Yeah, that's a strike-worthy thing. And they can shut down the whole country. We saw it happen under Trump, right?
Yep.
Stewardesses have a lot of power. Or I don't know what there's probably another term.
Flight attendant?
Flight attendant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you going to call them? You can't call them stews now. Flindants? That's a terrible thing to call them. Better than stews, arguably.
I agree. It's better than stews.
So this lady, Joanne Stevens, works, when he meets her, she's a stewardess on the specially chartered jet the Nixon administration is using to campaign.
Oh, I hate everything about this shit.
I know. But I mean, I will say for Joanne, that you must have hazard pay for that. The degree of harassment you have to encounter as a 50s stewardess on the Nixon plane.
There is no part of her that wasn't pinched.
Indescribable.
Oh my God.
And Hank, by the way, very much a Nixon fan.
I'm not shocked.
Yeah, he describes himself as being intoxicated by Joanne's free spirit lifestyle and deciding that her influence convinced him it was time for him to travel. And this eventually, through a somewhat circuitous route, leads to him embarking on a new life overseas. He and Joanne get married, and he moves to Switzerland. To his credit, he does not leave Dennis behind. To his not credit, he does something a little worse. Here's how a People magazine article in 1993 describes what happened next. Dennis was sent to a local boarding school where, already a slow student, he had even more difficulty learning foreign languages. His stepmother was unsympathetic. Joanne was unused to children, says Hank. She and Dennis didn't get along. What's unsaid here is that not only does Hank take Joanne, being unused to children, as an excuse to send his son back to the U.S., he does so, pulls him out of whatever life he has in the States at a boarding school, puts him in this Swiss boarding school, makes fun of him basically for not being smart enough to pick up German overnight. And then when his new fling is like, I don't really like kids, he sends his son back to an American boarding school alone on his birthday.
What the fuck?
This is like a psychological experiment for like how badly can you fuck up a child?
This is mommy dearest level shit.
It's really bad. Like, I was like, can you hang most of an episode on like how bad a parent one guy was to one kid? And I guess you can, because he is such a bad dad.
Like, did he have a checklist of like, well, let's just go fuck it all up, I guess.
Yeah, is this guy like Philip Zimbardo secretly like carrying out some fucked up experiment for unclear reasons? Dennis eventually graduated from boarding school in 1966, 2 years behind his original class. Hank and Joanne divorced a few years after this, and Hank remarried to a woman named Rolanda.
So he basically sent his kid away for a marriage that didn't even last.
Yes, that doesn't last. The marriage with Rolanda does better. He has 2 children with her, and he does parent them. I'll give him this. He is much better with these kids, from everything we know, than he was with his first 2, which doesn't really make up for or with his first son, which doesn't really make up for it. I found a 2001 article.
bar, Robert.
Yeah, not a high bar. I found an old 2001 article in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette by Sharon Randall, who talked to Hank before his death, and he expressed some regret here. Quote, pausing a moment to rearrange some pencils on his desk, he added, sometimes young fathers scrambling to make a living, to climb the ladder, leave it to the mother to do all the parental things. But you get back what you put into a child. It's like a piano. If you don't give it much attention, you won't get much out of it. And you could frame that as growth, but I actually think that's bad because like you shouldn't take care of your child because you'll get something from it. It's because that life you're responsible for. You helped create it. So you should take care of it as well as you can.
I have a child. She is 6. I take her to all of her speech therapy appointments. I do her doctor appointments. I have no guarantee she will take care of me one day. And it's not her fucking job. She may not. She may turn 18 and say, you know what? I'm out. Bye, old man. That's her right. I'll be heartbroken. I will be shattered. But it's her right. Yeah. I didn't have a kid for an investment. I had a kid because I wanted to have a kid, and I was able to. Like, I had a partner who wanted to have a child as well.
I am a strong believer in that children have no inherent responsibility to their parents. You did not ask to be brought into the world. You are not in debt to them. Parents have an inherent response. If you're going to create life, you have a responsibility to it, right? And he just abrogates it in the case of one of his kids. And then he's like, I was too interested in my career, which was based on my son, to raise my son. He's like a piano, which is also fucked up because like he actually got a lot more out of his son, his first son, than he did the kids he actually raised, because his first son is his meal ticket. But whatever.
I mean, literally the destroyed childhood of his first child paid for the childhoods of all the other kids afterwards.
Yeah. So it works out well for them, right?
Yeah.
So for Hank's part, the worse he was to his son, the better his cartoon boy tended to do. In 1959, it inspired a live-action adaptation, which is like, he's one of the first might have been the first, I don't know if it was the first, but it was certainly one of the first cartoons to get like a live-action adaptation.
There were a few others before that. I'm pretty sure Joe Palooka had one.
Yeah.
There were a few, but yeah, it was probably the most successful. But if you read the comic and then see Dennis Smith, like it's a sitcom. It's nothing really like.
No, and it's like there's people talk about like the show being bad for its child actor. I'm not going to bring that down as like a thing on Hanks against Hank because
that's not his fault.
That's most child actors have, at least up until very recently, had like it's just you probably shouldn't make a kid suddenly world famous and stuff.
I would say the physical and mental abuse that Jay North, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Jay North.
He suffered was the fault of all the adults around him, because it was his aunt and uncle were his managers, and they were the ones abusing him. It was obviously the aunt and uncle's fault, but also the adults who saw this and did fucking nothing.
Yeah.
But you can't really blame Ketchum. He wasn't involved beyond he got paid.
No, and it's one of those things, every time I read about shit like this, I'm not a particular Harry Potter guy, but when it comes to the movies, everything I've read about like how both the parents of those kids and their co-hosts were like, these kids, we have to really be on the ball to protect them, because this is going to be a disaster for all of them if we're not really careful. Yeah. And it seems like they mostly have ended up pretty well. I know Daniel Radcliffe had his tough years. Most of us do, but like he's doing great. I think the rest of them seem to be doing well. Like
he got to be Weird Al.
Yeah, he got to be Weird Al. What more can you ask for in a life? So good on all of the adults involved in that situation, but not this one.
There was no Jake Lloyd situation.
There was, yeah, exactly. Oh, God, that's another bleak one.
Jesus.
Man,
the world really hates kids.
Yeah, it sure does. Now, during this period, after he moved to Geneva, Hank decided to stop reading the news. He's a millionaire by this point, and he decides there's nothing but bad stuff on the news. So he doesn't read it anymore, and because he's living in a foreign country, he feels like he needs to stay up to date on American culture, and he does this by subscribing to the Sears catalog, which he claims gave him an accurate look at the aesthetics of American life. This apparently worked. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I think what works, I don't think he keeps up to date with American life, but what works about Dennis the Menace is that it's kind of permanently stuck in an idolized version of the 50s that never existed, right? Which is fine for a cartoon. It's fine if it's not based on your real life and the family you abandoned, right?
And Robert,
there's nothing wrong with
for people that don't know what Sears is, can you explain that? Because
your babies.
Yeah, there's I was like,
right.
it is not around anymore.
You kids know how like Target and Walmart, they're these big stores people used to go to before Amazon to buy stuff. Well, back even before then, people would buy stuff. Sears had some big stores, but mostly they had a catalog, and it would go to your house where you lived on the prairie with your family until you all died of diphtheria, and you would order stuff once a year from the Sears catalog to get the things you needed. And they sold everything.
They sold houses at one point.
You could get house kits. I have multiple guns that are antiques that were originally sold to people, mailed to their door through catalogs.
Get a fridge,
I don't have any automatic weapons, but they would
machine.
ship you machine guns back then.
Yeah.
They had their own knockoff Atari in the late 70s, early 80s.
They sure did.
We had a bunch of cartridges that worked on the Atari 2600.
Yeah,
from them.
It's a wild tale. So that's how he stays in touch, and it's one of those things. Dennis the Menace is successful in large part because it stays trapped in the past. And this was very much due to Hank's personality. He told the Washington Post, "Turmoil is something I don't need, other than what I generate myself," which shows more self-knowledge than the rest of the statements he makes.
Damn, man.
Unfortunately for Hank, but fortunately for the rest of the world, during kind of the period where Dennis the Menace is hitting its stride, the civil rights movement is also picking up steam, right? This is kind of the mid-'60s is when a lot of that stuff really starts to boil over. And Hank, living this wealthy Geneva expat life, is like scared and kind of angry at all of this stuff he's seeing, which is like confusing and threatening to him. And he retreats inside of himself more and more as the civil rights movement goes on. He expressed to the Washington Post later a sentiment that he kind of, in Dennis the Menace, he replaced the real tumultuous America of the day with his own cartoon version. And I think it's also true that he replaced his own tumultuous and failed first family with this fake version, right? Both of these are things that he's doing with this cartoon. He's very much using it as a tool to escape reality. He is a lifelong Republican voter, so perhaps this is not surprising.
But that's not an excuse, because you have people like Al Cap who are lifelong Republicans, and he used his power to do a comic called The Martin Luther King Jr. and the Montgomery Story. To promote Martin Luther King Jr. Because Al Cap was a piece of shit. But like, he's still, one thing about him, he was for integration.
Yeah, that was a kind of guy you had back then. Like, there's a number of those from entertainment where it's like, well, this man was a monster everywhere else in his life, but he was firmly on the side of integration.
Yeah. Well, Cap was a big admirer of King. And, then you have like Charles Schultz, after King was assassinated.
We're talking about
Franklin.
Chuck. Yeah,
but
we'll talk about that in just a second.
I'm gonna hide.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh God. That's what's coming up here, buddy.
Oh no.
So I do want to continue first with a quote from that Washington Post article. It is a world where Ketchum is in control. These are people I want to live with, he says of the characters in the musical so familiar from the cartoon. Dennis, his parents, Alice and Henry Mitchell, and their next-door neighbors, George and Martha Wilson. If they aren't what I like, I erase them. The headlines can be murderous and bloody, but in my world, the birds are singing. And that is such a telling line, if they aren't what I like, I erase them, because that is what you did to your own son.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when he didn't turn out the way you wanted as a small child.
Yeah.
Now, you won't be surprised to hear from that the world he creates does not include black people for quite some time, right?
Yeah.
Hank's cartoon is not unlike most popular culture made by white people in that time, right? And that it ignored the existence of black Americans to a large degree. And like, I think one of the first times I was aware of this as a kid, every Christmas, my family would watch the Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye movie, White Christmas. A lot of great stuff about that movie. The only black people you see are working as like wait staff on a train. Right.
Yeah.
And they don't say anything. That's the only time you see any black people in that movie. That was just, I mean, that was, it's not good, but that was like not, Hank is not unique, right, in this.
No.
In his cartoon.
Well, I mean, there was a problem in general with black representation in comic strips.
Yes.
It's like, if you wanted to see black representation, either it was blackface characters, or you had to go to black newspapers where you would have comic strips, which the world of black comic strips are amazing, and none of people know about them.
Is there any reading you might recommend on that you could pull up?
I wish there was. My spouse has actually been going through archives and collecting old strips. If you want, I'll send you a file of some of the ones we have found, because we found some really cool ones.
I mean, that'd be a great thing to be able to like host and just let people go through if it's possible. I don't know what
that is the goal, I think, with a lot of it.
We'll come back to that then. Yeah.
But even then, like, I have an article that was published in 1973 when Beetle Bailey brought in a black character, and how there were newspapers in 1973 dropping it.
Yeah.
And Mart Walker's response was, it's unrealistic to have a comic about the army and not have a black character present.
Yep. And that's like, it's 1965 is when a major publisher produces the first dedicated comic book with a black hero, right?
Was that Lobo?
Yeah, it's Lobo, 1965. And that's just 2 years after the first black man wins an Academy Award for a leading role. And it's Sidney Poitier, obviously.
That was also Dell Comics.
Fucking goat.
Dell Comics, as I recall, they were kind of in their Hail Mary years, and they were just desperately trying.
Yeah.
Now, there had been a comic in the 40s. I can't remember the name.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? All Negro Comics, which was created in 1947, and it was created by black creators.
Yeah, and this is a period where, I mean, like, that kind of stuff, I think I would love to know more about. Like, it's such an uphill battle, right? To try and make sure that like the popular culture that most people see as reflecting America includes black people, right? Like that's such a struggle during this period of time. I think a lot about, like, you watch those old Star Trek episodes, and like Uhura often doesn't have a whole lot to do. They clearly like didn't always know what should we have this character doing, but just like having, Whoopi Goldberg talks about this, just the fact that there was a black woman on television that wasn't anybody's maid, that was like doing a real job, that was an officer like everybody else, was a huge fucking deal. And that extends to the world of cartoons. And I think one of the first, maybe the first really major white cartoonists to start including a black character in his cartoon was Charles Schulz, as you kind of hinted at a bit ago. 1968 is when he introduces Franklin. And I want to talk about Schulz for a little bit, not because what he does is like heroic. It's not. It's beyond the minimum, but it's not like a wild act of radicalism or whatever. We're going to be covering how Hank handles the same situation. And I want to start with how a basically decent man, and I think Chuck Schulz was a basically decent man.
I've never heard a bad word about him.
Yeah, never heard a bad word about him. Handles integrating a black character into his cartoon and why he does it. Here's what he says about the decision to add Franklin to the comic strip later. I could have put him in long before that, but for other reasons I didn't. I didn't want to intrude upon the work of others. I think he's talking about some of those black cartoonists you mentioned earlier here. So I held off on that. But finally I put Franklin in, and there was one strip where Charlie Brown and Franklin had been playing on the beach, and Franklin said, "Well, it's been nice being with you. Come on over to my house sometime." Again, they didn't like that. Another editor protested once when Franklin was sitting in the same row of school desks with Pepper and Patty and said, "We have enough trouble here in the South without you showing the kids together in school." But I never paid attention to those things, and I remember telling Larry Ruttman, president of United Feature Syndicate, at the time about Franklin. He wanted me to change it, and we talked about it for a long time on the phone, and I finally sighed and said, "Well, Larry, let's put it this way. Either you print it just the way I draw it, or I quit. How's that?" So that's the way things ended. But I've never done much with Franklin because I don't do race things. I'm not an expert on race. I don't know what it's like to grow up as a little black boy. And I think that gives you a really good idea of like how a well-meaning person would handle this. First off, he does go beyond the minimum here when he's like, "Look, man, who's your next pick for Charles Schultz if I won't make this comic for you? Who else are you gonna have draw fucking peanuts?" Yeah.
And he was at the height of his popularity.
Absolutely.
And like it would have been a big deal.
And that's meaningful. Yeah.
It would, for him to walk away from that, that's a walk away from a lot of money.
He's arguably, maybe not the only cartoonist, but certainly one of the only cartoonists who could have forced something like this into a major cartoon, who could have forced them to show like integrated schools and stuff in his cartoon, because he had that much clout. And it's good that he used it that way. Well, right?
There were other people who could have, but like from the article from 73, like I remember like Ernie Bushmiller, who did Nancy, was like, "Nah, I don't want to, I don't want to touch political stuff."
Don't want that heat. Yeah.
One of my predecessors, Bud Sagendorf, worked in Popeye. I kind of get his viewpoint. He's like, the way I draw everyone, when you put a brown skin tone on them, it looks like a racist character. And he's like, I don't want to make this worse.
Yeah. And I think that's not unfair necessarily.
He was understanding like, if I do this, it looks with the history of comics and how black people have been treated in comics.
I shouldn't be the guy to do this, right?
Yeah.
That's fair. And I think that what Schultz did, again, I think I don't want to go like overboard praising him because he's not putting his life on the line here. But I think what he is doing, what he would say he's doing, is he's looking at people putting their lives on the line and saying, well, like, I am in a position where I can force this through and I should. Right? I don't really know how to write this character, but maybe that's not what matters right now. What matters is just showing that Charlie Brown's America, which is one of the most popular depictions of fictional America, includes black people, right? Yeah. And that's a good thing to do, right? That's a praiseworthy, some amount of praise at least. It's worth acknowledging.
That he never really talked about that during his lifetime. It's only been the last few years that's come out.
Yeah.
And they're actually doing a short, I think, or it may have already come out, a cartoon special about Franklin. It's a retelling of that first storyline.
And I think it's also perfectly fair for Schultz to be like, look, man, I'm not the guy to start making points about like race in America or like try to depict the life of a young black boy in the 60s. That's not what anyone comes to Peanut. I shouldn't be doing that. I just want to make people to know that he's here. And I think that is respectable. Yeah. And I think it's worth covering this respectable attempt to add like to integrate the world of comics, you could say, with what Hank Ketcham does. About 2 years after Schultz debuts Franklin, in 1970, Hank Ketcham adds his first black character to Dennis the Menace. And Randy, have you seen this comic?
I did not know there was a black character in that comic.
His name is Jackson, and I'm just going to have Sophie show it to you, and you can just...
Hold on, let me see if I can get my... what the fuck? What the fuck?
That is...
He's a Sambo character.
I don't...
He has white lips.
That is the best way to describe him. I don't know how to actually like describe how he draws this character.
I will.
Without
He's an ink block character with white lips. He is a He's a 1940s character.
I have seen neo-Nazi
and the caption.
We'll get to that. I want to know, like, the first thing I thought when I saw this, because I used to do a lot of stalking Nazis online, I have seen neo-Nazi comics from the 90s that depicted black people almost identically to the way that he does in this. Like, it is bad, people. It is some of the really most bad.
Like, so my spouse and I, one of our hobbies is we go through newspaper archives. We look. I love looking for lost comic strips that no one. But that means I also see a lot of really weird racist shit from the 1910s. This could have been printed in 1921.
Yeah, it's wild how bad it is for 1970.
That is, he has giant white lips. You can't see his nose. He is ink black. He is as black as the father's hair.
And like, he doesn't have the Popeye guy. I get that argument. Like all of my characters are caricatures. I don't really know how to draw a black person and not have it look like a problem. This looks
so different from everything else he ever draws.
Yes. He draws normal looking people as a general rule.
Now here's my question though. I need to know this. Because Ketchum did have ghost artists and ghost writers.
No, this was him.
Oh, this was him. It was not Wiseman.
No. That I don't think has even started yet. This is him.
No, Al Wiseman had been working since the 50s, but he was mostly working on the comic book, I think.
Yeah. I like, and the comic book he talks about that winds up coming on and coming off because it gets too expensive. But like, this is because he writes about this. Like he
takes credit for this.
He takes credit for this. Yes.
Oh shit, I wouldn't.
And there is so the cartoon we're talking about. We were so bowled over by how racist it is. Like it is. Woo! You've got Dennis the Menace's dad mowing the lawn. He's looking over, and there's Dennis and there's Jackson, and Dennis is saying
the father looks terrified.
The father looks scared to see this little boy. Dennis says, "I'm having some race trouble with Jackson. He runs faster than I do." What is that saying, man? Like, what is that even say? Like, I know what he's saying is like, Dennis doesn't see race, right? Like that is the actual point of the comic, which is also
it's funny. It's a whole like, I don't understand thing,
and again, like there's something quietly political about that first like Franklin strip, where because he's just making the point that like Franklin is welcome in Charlie Brown's home, right? And actually, in that time, that is kind of a political statement.
It's like the same part of the Mr. Rogers episode where he shares a foot wash with a black man.
Yeah, or when he like shares a hug or something with like that guy who was suffering from HIV to be like, look, you don't have to treat these people. Like,
there is a subtle politics.
Yes, a subtle, meaningful, earnest politics as opposed to whatever the fuck this is. And a lot of people get angry at this cartoon. Hank even alleges that there are violent attacks as a result of this cartoon. This is from his autobiography. A harmless little play on words, and I felt a soft, amusing beginning. Not so. The rumble started in Detroit, then moved south to St. Louis, where rocks and bottles were thrown through the windows of the Post-Dispatch. Newspaper boys were being chased and hassled in Little Rock, and in Miami, some Herald editors were being threatened. The cancer quickly spread to other large cities.
Am I wrong? Yeah. No, it's the children who are...
It's the people. And like... Did you ever describe racism as a cancer, or just people getting angry that you drew a slur in your cartoon, Hank?
I would say, like, if he had said, you know what, I drew this, and I did not think about the fact I was thinking that with the mind of a man born in the 20s.
Yeah.
Like, I should have stepped back. He needed someone in that room to say, that's not okay.
It does say a lot about the state of the industry that this comic presumably passes through a bunch of people's hands before it goes up.
Dude, I did a comic not long ago it was a throwaway Popeye strip. And the joke was, because when I was a child, I was convinced the song Cotton Eye Joe was about a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a strip about that. And one of my editors was like, hey, just so you know, there might be some racist history to that song. And so there was a meeting about this strip. And I mean, there's an article, it's questionable. And my whole thing was like, okay, we'll just pull it. Like, just pull it. Like, even if it's not true, someone out there might think it. I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. But like, multiple editors got together with me and we had a big discussion on it.
Yeah.
And that looked nothing like this.
Yeah. I'm sure the extent of this conversation was like, he sends this cartoon, an editor on his fourth highball of at lunch was like, great work! You're going to fix the race problem in this country. And then back to drinking highballs.
Like, if that had run in 55, I'd be like, oh yeah, of course it fucking ran.
Yeah.
But 70s?
Mm-hmm. Wild stuff.
Oh my fucking God.
So he describes being mad as hell at the reaction that this gets.
He should be ashamed.
He ought to be. Snopes notes that at the time, a number of newspapers ran apologies to their readers for this cartoon, and they provide an example from the Cleveland Press. Yesterday's Dennis the Menace cartoon offended a number of press readers. The press apologizes for the affront caused by the cartoonist. It assures subscribers that such a thing will not happen again.
Oh, I'm sure he was not happy about that.
No, he was not. And normally I would say, why don't throw the cartoonist under the bus.
No.
But in this case, yeah, throw the cartoonist under the bus.
Hobble him so he can't get out of the way.
Yeah.
Also, just let it go.
So Ketchum for reasons that are known only to God, would make one more comic featuring Jackson. I will say this Jackson is drawn less racistly than before. Not well, not good, but not the same.
I'm dreading this.
It's still not good. It's still maybe definitely a little bit of a problem, but better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, better.
I would actually think that's a totally different character, to be honest.
Yes, it is drawn wildly differently.
So for the people who obviously can't see this, the character is drawn less as a giant ink blot child. He still seems to have white lips, which is not good.
Yeah, but also a third of his head is white. I think just because of where the light's supposed to be hitting him. It's supposed to be
like the shine,
but it looks really
common
odd
at this point in time that black characters are shown with a cross hatching.
Yeah.
Franklin was drawn the same way. A lot of it's just kind of how it was done.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it, but it's truth.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, the white lips, that's a weird telltale. That.
Mm-hmm.
All he had to do was give the textured hair.
Yep.
I mean, look at the comic Curtis, which is granted drawn by a black creator. You can give features that denote African American heritage without going to fucking stereotypes.
Yeah.
And his arms are still jet black.
I think another thing you could do, and maybe other cartoonists could have done too, is I don't know how to draw this cartoon or make a point. I'll just have a black cartoonist take over my strip for a day, Yeah. And put out something. You don't have to do this, Hank. You could use your clout here some other way. And
actually hire a consultant, a black artist. Tell me what.
Yeah.
Go to someone and say, give them money because they shouldn't have to fucking do it for free.
Particularly after your first cartoon causes a riot. Maybe you're not the one to handle this anymore. And the cartoon itself is, his mom's got 2 cookies and she's looking at the 2 boys. And
again, she's nervous.
She's nervous. Dennis has his hand out towards Jackson. He's like, me and Jackson are exactly the same age, only he's different. He's left-handed. And again, it's the same punchline where all of you, silly Americans in the civil rights movement care so much about race. Dennis, the Menace, the boy I invented while ignoring my own son, doesn't even see race.
It feels like a conservative, well, my character gets it. What's wrong with you, liberals?
I'm much woker than you, but for living in Geneva and ignoring the civil rights movement. As the years go on, Hank is going to increasingly defiantly avoid any interaction with the real world or any hint that life for regular Americans was no longer the bland 50s daydream he depicted in Dennis the Menace and had actually himself failed to live in the 1950s. And we are going to talk about what happens to the real Dennis after he gets out of school. But first, what's going to happen to you is you're going to listen to these ads.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
Let's talk about modern home shopping. It's sort of become a fun side hobby, right? Scrolling listings at night, dreaming about kitchens you've never seen, or backyards you haven't even stepped foot in. all from the comfort of pretty much anywhere. Redfin knows a lot of people like you want to own, but are stuck in this browsing mode loop. That's where Redfin flips the script. With listings that update within minutes and tours you can book right from the Redfin app, you can see your dream home the moment it appears. Now, liking a listing is easy, but actually landing it, that's where Redfin comes in. Redfin has over 2,200 agents with local expertise. And Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. That means they want to help you win, not just window shop. Redfin is built to help you go from just looking to wait, this could actually be home. So become the newest neighbor on the block. Visit redfin.com to start finding and start owning. That's redfin.com.
We're back. So we're talking about the real Dennis the Menace again. Now, he gets out of school in 1966. He never benefited from the protection his father's wealth might have allowed him, and he joins the Marine Corps in 1966.
Oh, shit.
Yes, and he goes straight to Vietnam. He is stationed in Vietnam, and he sees, from what I can tell, pretty heavy combat.
So, unlike his father who was drafted, he sees action.
Yes, he has a bad tour. People magazine quotes him as saying, "My grandmother and aunt sent me letters, but never dad." When People magazine went to Hank and were like, "Did you not send your son letters when he was in Vietnam?" They note, quote, "Hank insists he did write to his son. I know who I believe. Just based on the rest of the story, I know who I believe."
Yeah, that's, If I'm not mistaken, he was also in the 70s doing, like, a military comic called Half Hitch, wasn't he?
Oh, was he?
Yeah, Kitchum did a strip, oh, no, wait, yeah, I'm double checking it. He did it like during, that was his World War II comic, Half Hitch, but he brought it back from 70 to 75.
Oh, wow. For just at the tail end of Vietnam, huh?
And
a couple of years afterwards.
And...
Weird. That's peculiar. But not interested in his own son, who was technically serving in a branch of the Navy. Sorry, Marines, that's the truth. So Dennis the Menace sees some shit in Vietnam, and he comes home with severe PTSD. The real Dennis the Menace is a traumatized Nam veteran. He has trouble functioning in society. He is unable to really hold down a job for a considerable period of time. He moves through a lot of like low-paid gigs. He's a prison guard for a while. He's a ranch hand. And by 1990, he's living in Ohio and is generally described in articles at the time as being estranged from his father. When some people would reach out, he would make comments to the effect that, like, yeah, having a popular comic named after me and based on me by my dad who abandoned me really messed with me. And again, Hank's response to this is, these things happen. They don't.
Nope, they really don't.
Yeah.
They really shouldn't.
Now, for reasons that probably aren't surprising, the real Dennis the Menace has a tumultuous personal life. He has several divorces. For reasons I don't know, he is legally barred for a time from seeing his teenage daughter, Jennifer. Probably not a great story there. No. That People article concludes, every now and then, as he did a couple weeks ago, Dennis phones his father. "I see your movie is out," said Dennis, and this is when the movie with the guy from fucking
Walter
Bad
Matthau
News Bears, Walter Matthau.
Christopher Lloyd was a villain in the movie.
You're right. We'll talk about Walter Matthau in a second. No, I love Walter Matthau.
Okay.
"I see your movie is out," said Dennis. "I hope you see it," Hank replied. Dennis said he hoped to. He then announced that he and Janet, who's his wife at the time, are quitting their jobs and resettling in the Southwest, and asked his father to help finance their move. That's the way many of our conversations go, says Hank, sadly. And like, when you're reading every article you can find about a guy, which I did for Hank, a funny thing happens, which is that you pick up some patterns. In multiple interviews, he will tell people in this period of time, "My son only calls me to ask for money." There's one exception to this, and it's a 2001 article in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette by Sharon Randall. And in it, Hank speaks very differently about this part of their relationship. Quote, "When I asked about Dennis, he said he checks in about twice a year, and if he needs something, I try to help him." That's a really different response from "he only calls me when he wants money," right?
Which makes me think he caught some flack.
Did he catch some flack? Is it just because the interviewer is a woman? Is he like into her? Does he want to impress her? Like, I couldn't tell you why he phrases it this way, but it really stuck out to me. Where every other time he's like, he just wants money. And this time he's like, I try to help him when I can, try to be a good dad. And like,
that's suspect.
Again, in addition to like I don't think that like kids have a responsibility to your parents. If you have money as a parent, I don't think you have a responsibility to make your kids rich. I think it's actually terrible for them if you do. But if you base a cartoon on your son and kind of destroy his childhood, partly as a result of that, you probably do owe him some of your millions. You should probably give him some of your riches.
If I made a comic based off my daughter and it became like, I would feel like I'd have to put at least some of the money aside for her.
Yes. I think most people would.
Because she had no ability. She's sick. She can't consent to that.
And it's going to affect her life. Less now, but like back then especially, like cartoons being as central as they were to like child culture.
Yeah.
Now, in that article, that People article by Michael Lipton, there's a very devastating line where, and this comes from part of the interview with Dennis, quote, "Dad can be like a stranger," counters Dennis, who has never met his two half-siblings. "Sometimes I think that if he died tomorrow, I wouldn't feel anything." That's what we call, in the narrative business, a setup. So as soon as he's able to justify it, Hank, as you've noted, takes a backseat in the production of his own cartoon. He brings in ghostwriters and artists to draw it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that shit.
No, it's part of the industry. It happens.
You know, Behind the Bastards is still a one-man shop in terms of the writing of episodes. But, you know, if I ever got the chance to retire wealthy and have some Zoomer pretend to be me and use an AI voice, maybe I've done that already. Maybe you don't know. You'll never know if it's still me. I mean, you know, Randy, and you know Sophie.
I was like, I can see you.
Yeah, you can see me. So I don't know. I'm not gonna shit talk him on that, especially since it's not an AI. Actual artists are getting their start, are building careers, drawing the Dennis the Menace cartoon.
It is a very common thing throughout this entire industry.
Yeah.
So
nothing wrong with that.
The only cartoonist I know of who was very big, who refused to let someone draw his comic, was Charles Schultz.
Yeah, Schultz and obviously and Watterson.
Watterson. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, and Larson, Gary Larson. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah. And also, like, those are guys like I think Larson just brought it back, if I'm not mistaken. He's done.
He's on Facebook, I believe. He's doing them.
Yeah.
And Watterson also came from a different field. Watterson came from political comics.
Yes.
And you can tell from his line work, that's what he started out as. And I think when you have political comics like Berkeley Breathed or Gary Trudeau, like that's just not a field that normally has ghost artists. It's not.
God, yeah. I was a huge Bloom County fan as a kid too. Didn't understand a lot of the comments about like fucking the Symbionese Liberation Army and shit that he was dropping, but loved that opus.
He's so fun.
Loved Bill Cutter John. Yeah, Bill the Cat. Great stuff. So yeah, I got no issue with the fact that he gives up drawing his cartoon gradually. Obviously, that makes sense to me. He does it in favor of spending his free time painting artsy depictions of jazz singers and other, like, he tries to start a fine art career. And he would claim later in life that this is the work he wanted to be remembered by. Dennis the Menace was, he admitted, just a money generator. His art was what he was really in, like that was the posterity, right? He says in this interview with SF Gate, "Now my painting, that's something else. My bid to posterity is my paintings." And here's a painting he did of Jesus.
I'm gonna hate this, aren't I?
It's just weird. It's not bad. It's not bad, but it's weird.
What the hell?
I guess that's hair, because it's like on his armpits and his chest,
like
but it looks like he's got ninja stars sticking into him.
That is
a little odd, but like not bad, I wouldn't say.
It's not the worst thing I've seen. It has a charm to it. It definitely it has influences of his. It's weird he doesn't want to be remembered for his comic, because I know a lot of artists who love his line work. Like his line work was very influential.
He was not certainly. I mean, he's a good drawer, good illustrator. I find Dennis the Menace, I can probably recall the basic animation of that cartoon with my eyes closed, and I don't think I'll remember this Jesus painting very much.
No, looks like kind of like Obama. Is that Obama Jesus?
No, he didn't live that long, so he wouldn't have done it. And here's an untitled painting of a bearded man. This one's weirder. An untitled painting of a bearded man in a dog collar reaching for a cigarette while a dominatrix stands over him.
What the hell?
That's a weird painting from the fucking Dennis the Menace guy, huh? There's no title to it, so I don't know what he was going for with this. Like, Clearly, that's a dominatrix, though, right?
That
Both
is,
of those
that is
women have to be. Yeah.
A pair of dominatrixes.
Dominatrices. Yeah, and the guy's got like a golden or a bronze collar. He's got like spiked collars around his hands, too. And he's like on his knees grasping for a cigarette someone stepped on, it looks like. It's weird. It's weird.
The women wearing laced up knee-high boots.
Yeah.
It's interesting. This is like learning...
Yeah. It's not bad. Yeah.
It's like learning one of the creators of Superman did all that weird bondage and murder fetish art.
It's definitely odd. It's not what I would have called for him. It certainly doesn't remind me of his cartoons, but it's like it's competently drawn.
It's actually like the composition's nice. Like I like the facial structure. Like I like the line work.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have expected.
I saw it online. I think this was going for like $200. So like it's affordable. If you want a Hank Ketchum original, you can probably make that happen for yourself.
I mean, stuff might not be.
I'm sure his cartoons are pricier, but I don't think there's a lot of interest in his weird dominatrix art. So one of the most interesting articles I ran into on the man's personality was published by the LA Times in 1986, and it's got some really good paragraphs. Having been approached by his fellow cartoonists to join them in the crusade against hunger in Africa, Ketchum declined. I think we have other priorities right here. I prefer to do everything I can for my neighbors, then the peninsula, then the state, then the country. My priorities are not overseas. No, of course not. For God's sake. Like, a very standard thing, but worth bringing up just in terms of like the kind of guy he was. There's a revealing moment in this article where the journalist is like looking at his drawing desk in his office and sees a picture of a little boy on the desk. And he's like, oh, is that a picture of your son, Dennis, the original Dennis the Menace? And Hank's answer is, nah, he's 40 now, doing his own thing. We don't communicate that much. So who's the 5-year-old in the picture? That's me. Now, does he look like a menace? Nice chunky little fella. Future Republican fella. Future grumpy old man. What a weird thing to say.
So also weird having a picture like
of yourself for the cartoon that you draw about your kid who you abandoned. A little weird. Yeah. So I don't know. You can have whatever opinion on his fine art you want, but time has shown pretty clearly that he is not going to be remembered for that. He will be remembered for both Dennis the Menace and being a bad dad. Mm-hmm. Hank himself died in 2001, and his first son, the original Dennis the Menace, did not attend his funeral.
Nor would he. Do we know what he's doing now? Is he okay?
I haven't heard much. I haven't heard anything about him in the last few years. I mean, he would be pretty old at this point if he's still around. I wish him the best. Maybe depending on what happened with his teenage daughter, I guess. I don't know fully, but his dad didn't help with that. I'll tell you that much.
I mean, like you're abandoned by your family. Like your mom was probably not really present. Your dad ditches you. Then you go to fucking Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you guys send your mom dies. You don't find out. Your dad remarries, moves you across the world. Gets mad you're not learning a new language when you're already having trouble learning. His new wife says, I don't want him. You get sent away. That marriage doesn't even fucking work out. Then you go in the Marines, serve in a war that's fucking horrible, come back to all that hate. Because let's be honest, I'm sure he was not treated real well when he got back. And the government kind of forgot about you, just like your dad did. There's just so much pain and sadness there.
Yeah. It's
and all people do is associate you with a cartoon version of yourself that from a dad who didn't know you.
Yeah.
But your dad built an entire world off you. There's been so many Dennis Menace movies. There were cartoon shows. I mean, when I was a kid, Dennis the Menace was like a Dairy Queen mascot.
Yeah, he's the DQ kid, and it's to think that like from the perspective of Dennis the real boy. The only moment where his dad paid attention to him was that moment his mom yelled at him that inspired the comic, and that was all his dad needed from him in his entire life.
That is, as a parent,
bleak.
that is so
That's bleak.
I wonder if the author of Gone Girl got inspired by this story when she wrote a book. Do you know that what I'm talking about? Anyone?
Isn't that the one with Ben Affleck?
Yeah. So the main female character's entire life was her mom wrote books called The Amazing Amy, and it was inspired by her, but not actually about her.
I can't remember that. Yeah.
And I just wonder if the author, I think the author's name is Gillian Flynn. I just wonder if the author,
Maybe.
there's a lot of parallels there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Well, everybody, that's Behind the Bastards. Randy, where can people find you online?
Probably crying in a corner for a while after that goddamn story.
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't be complaining because I don't get brought on for the dying baby episodes, so that's nice.
Just the traumatized child episodes.
An awful cartoon, which is a lot. I can't wait to come back for Al Cap. Or the guy who did Annie. He was a piece of shit too. SomethingPositive.net, that is the comic I've been drawing since 2001. I also draw the Sunday Popeye strips, as well as the Thursday Olive and Popeye comics. I also do a comic called Mousetrap, which you can find at mousetrapcomic.blog.
Well, check all that out, folks, and go to hell. I love you.
Behind the Bastards is a production of Cool Zone Media. For more from Cool Zone Media, visit our website, coolzonemedia.com, or check us out on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Tired of spills and stains on your sofa? Wash away your worries with Anabay. Anabay is the only designer sofa that's machine washable inside and out, starting at just $699. Plus, Anabay sofas are pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and feature changeable slip covers and modular pieces. Get up to 60% off site-wide with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Visit washablesofas.com to get yours now. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now. You call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.